This is a Canadian Berliner K. And as I've said with some of the other Berliners, they look a lot like the Victor products. Remember, Berliner was the one who invented the gramophone, and later when he sold his patents to Eldridge Johnson, it became the Victor Talking Machine Company in the United States and all across the world. But Berliner kept his patents in Canada and he marketed a number of machines. And he still had a lot of connections with the Victor company, which is why the machines look so similar. I mean, this, if you didn't know better, you'd think this was a Victor 1. It's about the same size. A lot of the Canadian Berliners copied Victor machines. And then later, the company basically became a distributor in Canada of Victor. But there's some subtle differences in this. The horn is very reminiscent of a Victor machine, but you'll notice it's got these pointy ends to it, where the Victor horns have rounded panels. So it's a little bit different, but you'll still see when I bring you in close, it's got the Nipper the dog logo and says Berliner Gramophone on it as opposed to Victor. The other difference is the reproducer here. This is a Berliner automatic grand reproducer, which was a little bit later model. And then it's got this flip up thing here that I'll have to show you when I bring you in close. So come on in, we'll take a close look at this machine. Here's some Canadian Berliner records. You can see they're a little different looking. You can recognize them pretty quickly because of their brown color, and they come in several sizes. Here's the machine. We'll start with the ID tag, very typical of the Canadian tag. Later, it starts to look a bit more like the Victor tag, and it has the Nipper the dog on it. As I said, the horn has pointy ends or scalloped edges as opposed to the rounded ones that are on Victor. And of course, Victor machines, the horns are black. The cabinet, yeah, it looks a lot like a Victor cabinet. The crazy thing is, these are almost identical to Victor products, but they're not interchangeable. You can't put a Victor horn on this, or a Victor elbow, or a Victor reproducer. Nothing seems to be the same size. Here's the reproducer. And you can see this is an early attempt at making it a little more modern with this little cantilever thing and the tapered tone arm. This was not a great success because really what gives it a good sound is having airtight transmission of the sound. And there's just too much of a gap here. Even though it's a little gap, it just doesn't really work well. Come up on the other side. You can see, really? Looks exactly like Victor. You think the parts would fit, but they don't. And here's the Berliner reproducer. So that's a Berliner K.